I think we thought now after this very hard to this game without having to wait until all the chairs are built up. Show of hands or uh, yeah, show of hands. Who's here that's not attending yesterday's session? Okay, so one on here as well. Okay, so because we try to maintain the same context in terms of what we checked yesterday, to ensure that there's sensible continuity in terms of how we run this workshop. But essentially, what happened yesterday was us trying to discuss, venture into how the free problem because in the context of IDs, it's always about getting the right IDs to solve the right problem. And then today, we're gonna expand that notion with the late yesterday into business model. How you make money from identifying the right problem percent, also verifying what's true, what's not, what's possible, and then to becoming successful. Because at the end of the day, just like how a car is, no matter what technology you put into a car, the thermal charges, the suspension system, and whatnot, the only thing that's in contact with reality of car driving is the, well, I mean, yes, it's actually not immediate, yes. Imagine a car, the only thing that in contact with the road is the tires, right? So no matter how much you upgrade the cars, but the tires go off, it's just going to throw everything up, right? The friction, the traction, and all that. And in the same analogy also applies to your pitch. No matter how good your products are, the solutions, no matter how genius you are as a person, but if you cannot update what you do and what you're trying to solve, and presentation, most of the time it will break. This one I can almost guarantee because yeah, it's not really about how you know how you sell it and you sell it in form of picture or animation or animated space. So today we are going to the session into covering like so just like yesterday's four blocks that we discussed about. So this one we are going to focus into turning problems into a business and then building a commercial model that will share on that. And we structure your pitch and we do some pitch right. So it's more compact and hopefully exactly for all of you. Okay. So just like me, we should not prepare with the three things that we have to do. Choosing the IP, shortlisting the and then think of the problems we're solving and come up with problems in there. It's never up. Okay, so I hope by now all of you have opportunity to study and you can get through the very very fun. Who's here still deciding? It's okay, there's no deciding. Okay, okay. One of you guys. So not to say it's a bad thing because I want to be sure that this is one you need to pursue because it's going to involve a lot of moving parts. Settings that you guys help you. And then we have previous development when during the update, they change from the because I don't know some common will have this thing update is like a look at see what's now. Right? Configuration I think with lab analysis and confidence, you get the any whole sort of thing. Well, I think I do something good. Sorry. And then a written policy statement is what we came up with as a conclusion of yesterday's workshop. And then whether or not we are able to identify which target sector of the street that we are aiming for. Okay, because don't be surprised when some of you actually hit the wrong target market. And we have the formula to find out how. Right. Okay, so what is a commercial model? We have a lot of, oftentimes I'm not going to read everything because you have to direct it, take photos if you need, but I'm not too sure that maybe the organization is going to pass me the right way. But very see that sorry. Well, first of all, what is the thing that you are selling or in short the offer? And then who are you selling to? And then the mechanism. But in the way you look at this from your POV, it looks very difficult. But then when it's when you structured as a deck, uh, don't be surprised that suddenly gonna go haywire because this is what you need to remember here. The mobile pocket. Okay, how do you exactly make money from this? In what model is standard planning mechanism? And then what would be your ideal customer profile? Who you want to sell it to? This is what you need to sell. Okay, so can you understand, right? Just a bit on to hold on. Unless you have someone from business faculty or finance, come on, can you help? Can you help? Okay. Second part is building the model itself. How are you going to sell it? These are some of the methods available or mechanisms that if go IP or driven companies do it. The easiest one so far has always been licensing because it just pass everything over. But there's also a caveat to that. And if it's going to be it's just a business of B2B, well, that you build something and then you sell it at mass or aiming for similar business industry or so as an example shown there, if it's something that's tangible, then it's easier to sell right away. But if your end solution or your end product involves another process of building or manufacturing, then people will go for licensing. And then usually the exit strategy also depending on how you can look into the business, you want to sell it off and then sell something. So a lot of people do that as well. Some of you who is building SaaS preferred strategy has always been the go-to strategy for SaaS-based model because due to its nature of the product, it's highly scalable. So you have to keep in mind whatever you're building with a software, it needs to be easily replicable and localized if you would like. Always keep that in mind because a lot of times when you have something really good here, and then the moment we think about expansion, say Thailand or Philippines, the software is not ready for something like that. It means the software is so weak because customization in SaaS model is usually very high. You can just hyper localize native app to something that works for their business structure, working for their whatever geographical limitation or restriction or policies. Usually policies will be the settle because everything you build will do that in the world of very direct nation. When it's shipped out to another country, it's like a new login for everyone. And that's usually the main obstacle of how some models can expect. But they are not ready for scalability that high skill differentiation in terms of politics and regulations. Uh, Pilots, you know what Hackathon? What pilot play, right? These are usually the first episode of your business case in the real world. So you have everything that here, well, MRL 3. So you wanted to get out of that comfort zone, aka the talent or maybe campus. You want to try outside of your campus. So because usually different environment, different outcomes. So some things may work under the microscope, but the moment it's out on the field, it may be different. So in this context of IP, judges may ask these type of questions. If let's say you've proven that you validated your ID and it works under that condition, when it comes to packaging, maybe some of you may not even think of that. If something that works at a regular temperature or under control temperature or environment set like that. The moment it's being packed and shipped out inside the container or going overseas and then being stored in the storeroom or the shelf of a pharmacy, for instance, or anywhere, what sort of degradation that can be expected and what's that will combat this type of possibilities. Okay, think about that. You have to think as a whole supply chain. Sometimes there are some IPs that require some kind of raw materials in order for it to scale because you can produce everything at that scale. And then when people look at your roadmap or your go-to-market strategy, and then they will say, okay, so how do you procure this type of raw materials in order to scale? If something is maybe 1 ringgit to procure, what about you trying to supply or 100 times, 1,000 times? Will there be any limitation of supplies? Because then that will make your go-to-market a bit stuck. Because you maybe can sell to small scale farmers, in a sense, and things like that. But we talk about a nationwide harvest. How do you ensure, how do you convince the judges that you are able to get supplies? Because in these days and age, if we look at a lot of repurposing of waste, there are that before, plastic waste, or poop and whatnot, right? Everything was seen as a waste before, now it becomes a commodity. A lot of people have to actually fight for waste in many forms. Palm trees, waste, and beef, whatever. So how do you convince strangers that you are in? So this is why your pitch needs to have some kind of, or what do you call it, supply chain. Supply chain management is really complicated. So again, I learned that will get different. And then there's this one. Okay, I wouldn't really recommend the last one to be your pitch because of course if you can identify several grants available for financial institutions or the government agencies, it's a good bonus to have to ensure that there's sustainability in your business pathways. But don't make this repeat the only one unless it's required to be that way. Okay, don't get me wrong, not to say that this shouldn't be because when we talk about any IPs that is at the lower end of PRLs, there's no way you venture capitalists or banks want to fund something that's not really yet, right? So that's why grants like this. Everyone here familiar what grant is? Yeah. Okay. So you actually grants. And just checking who else give grants. For developmental projects, try to Google MDEC. If you don't know what MDEC is. Creative also. They have a developmental grant for you to develop and institutions further. So yeah. Having multiple channels to in terms of how you get a revenue. Okay, so now to match your current PRL to the customer. So first, high PRL is I wouldn't say easy, but it's straightforward. If you are at the PRL 8 or 9 is the holy grail of it. But generally means you are ready with almost everything except for waiting for someone to buy a product. So you have to give, I think the easiest way, the lowest hanging fruit would be the corporates, the MNCs, because they know they have the budget for it. You know they have the budget for it, and you know that essentially really solving the problem. But selling to corporates, it's never about how good your products are. Trust me, they don't care how good products are. If I'm a CEO of an MNC, if I want to adopt something new, the only thing I care about is how much margin I can make through the cost savings I use through your solution. You frame it that way when you pitch. It's nothing really about this technology is so sexy, it's so advanced and everything, right? But it's about the dollars and cents. Then I general, but you are aiming for SMEs. Some also is very relevant, especially when you are in the B2B business. You need to say the sales cycle, like you want to understand what that is. How long it takes until somebody pays you. Because if you talk about legal agencies or MNCs, right? Um, I would say around 2 months, 3 months would be most realistic average of how long it would take for you to get from when we start a project or something like MNCs. So sales cycles is very long, but B2B, it's in SaaS is almost immediate. If it's a subscription based, the moment they're interested, they have to pay. And that's why you put some candidates in like 30 days, money back guarantee, et so that's the need. Yeah, but volume, I mean, it's a volume business. But for MNC for corporate buyer, typically one project can last you for like and one project is probably valued at 50 minutes a game or 5 million depending on the scale of the project and the product you're selling. But yeah, remember about sales cycle. Because if there's an annual judge who's suddenly asking you, like, okay, so if you're only getting that project base, how are you going to sustain before you get your first check? You know, try to, and that's why a lot of businesses out there, although they have their core business, they have different revenue streams to keep the company afloat. And that's the reality of it. I think everyone also understands that kind of just put everything into your payroll out there, but we do not have the luxury of having enough capital to wait for the clients to pay. Okay, so the mid to low tier no customer. So you have these key customer, and you guys are doing that Hackathon, right? Try to find out who are the responsible person for this particular vision or department or faculty. Like let's say the solution is supposed to help the education system, then you have only the lowest hanging fruit, okay? And then you require them to have a validate balance. As an outsider, out of university, I always see university as the best test bed for anything that is evaluated because I don't have to scour a big radius of distance to get you there. I just come to this campus and there are thousands of individuals. I wouldn't even see you guys as students anymore. You guys are consumers. If I have something that needs to be tested, needs to be surveyed, these are the test beds. What else on the college? Because I can categorize into different demographics to whatever the kind of want. By races, by age group, by individuality or your profession. So this university at your advantage. And you guys are already in the universities. The unpaid customer, this one is for if I can sell free and your aim is to bring the client other thing outside of the scope of that or cultural environment. And then, like I said just now, grants or any kind of yeah, I think the only one I can use is grants. Any kind of assistance to kind of go. And the rule of thumb here, again, I think this actually you can't need a first customer thing that's more aggressive. But there's nothing wrong if I say you're giving to drink your phone to 5 or 3 to 5. Okay. Now, example is this. These are formulated through key studies. Okay? So we will, okay, the first one is cost plus, meaning well, I feel like promoting or introducing cost savings to your client. So that's one way. So never try to sell cheaper. Of course, there are some instances where selling cheaper than the competition can get you faster. You can get more sales because your pricing is beyond attractive for at this point. But a lot of different struggle doing something like this, trying to sell, unless they are like the level of 10 cent, super big guys people, they can improve prices because they have the negative credit. But you try to replicate the same model, the earlier hurdle you will find is that the moment you have to the realization that okay, we cannot continue burning more money, we have to increase our price. What the consumers are going to feel betrayed, right? Emotionally betrayed, feeling because we are used to this getting stuff for cheap. Then suddenly they increase the price, what usually happens, you market already and then you pick other solution providers or pick another product or app, right? So be careful with that. Even for something tangible like your selling products, you are selling services, usually the moment the price increase, if you cannot justify why, then it's going to be a problem. That's why there is mantra where people say that always put introductory wherever you're trying to start business. So you have to frame the mind of the potential consumers that this is us showing our gratitude of your support, but it is not going to be the true selling part. But that's why you can measure the LTVs. Check it return, and so you have to receive. Then value based, okay, so it's slightly different from the cost, but value based meaning you are daring enough to sell for more because of the value it brings to your client. But this is if you have the magic wand that can persuade your client to say that, okay, if you pay for this rate, you're paying this amount every month to service your manufacturing plant, factory, or whatnot. But it only does that. What happens in the next 2, 3 years when technology actually get developed even more rapidly? Will your company be ready or you gonna get left out again? So the value add you're bringing here is we're targeting a little more to future proofing your business and use the word future proofing. Because just like how many gamers here, right? All gamers, PC marketing, anyone. So when you build your PC, you want to future proof your build so that you don't have to keep buying the components to upgrade as well the requirements gets higher and higher. Right? Can really right? Yeah, so same thing with businesses. If you can fix the big components that what I'm selling you today is make sure you don't worry for the next 5 years, perhaps you get a deal. Okay? And the difference is today, what is already existing out there. Then you want to be side by side with that. And then maybe a little bit of adding to the value base because if people ask you like, so how are you against the existing competition who has been around for a couple of years past? And that's the most common question you will get. You always show your X1 axis of your quant analysis, right? Or your SWOT or whatnot. People will say, so that's already Google, that's already Intel can be doing detect like what you're doing. So how are you better than that? So how you put it into layman perspective, if I want to sell burgers and people keep comparing me with McDonald's or Burger King, how do I answer that? Right? So, tips here, if I see someone is asking you this type of question, I will tell them, okay, so McDonald's has a growth that's almost already because everything's very projected and it's so streamlined. So we can, from the perspective of investors, they can expect 3% to 5% of annual growth every year. But my burgers, starting from zero, the next growth will be shooting up right now. And so McDonald's are so huge that they are a conglomerate that is standardizing their business model. While I'm small, I can personalize my experience clients at the early stage. So to take McDonald's out of this equation, if let's say you're selling like a tech product versus someone who's doing organic or 1 billion versus they're so big they are covering the whole nation or region while you can handle the first 10 of their customers and they call you at 3 a.m. also you can give up. Okay, can you resonate in that kind of experience? So as you're tiny, you can service your customers way better than those who are so factory. They everything also you have to go through a ticketing system. My ticketing system is technical. So I usually do that as a commander. But then a few questions after that will be like, okay, so what's your feedback available now? So if I ask a question, we can see yeah, I can answer you that right now, but SOP has always been right next to for something that's scaling or kind of doing thing. So, um, okay, so okay, we can share. If this was currently, so this is how problem three into the internet statement that generates your pricing strategy. You have to understand how much they make in losses first before you get injecting your value that allows for them to save costs. Again, I mentioned so I give you an example. There's this shopping mall. This shopping mall is having they have to pay around 800,000 ringgit every month for electricity bill, utility bill. Okay, and then you came up with an idea, or I mean, like, an idea to build a solution that allows them to save 30% of their monthly payment. So how you pricing it needs to not be above what they are making, what they are making losses throughout the whatever that they will payable that you do. So you price it in a way that they will save around 10% even after they use the solution. Think about it in that way, okay? Because a lot of time, most of you guys won't know how much you want to price it. So in this case, as the goal. That's how I download some plugins. Uh, I think you have read it. It's not actually how easy to this circumstance, get those beyond your amazing technology that remains. So that's great. Again, we use it as a lead. What people? Or you're like that, and you get rid of it. Like, it's really not like it's fun or it's smart, you know. Something. Yeah, they do that. No, this is result, bro. Yeah, for you. You might get about it. Then, you know, focus. Well, yeah, I mean, all right, so right now we'll talk about the economics. One is since everything's already spelled out, right? So judges don't want to see this beyond an amazing technology or your pension. They want to know what is the cost to acquire your customer. And then what is the lifetime value? And this is something you carry throughout the okay, by the way, we'll think on it. Okay. Again, this is not just for the hackathon. This is basically the reality that they can whenever you want to have something invested into your businesses or into your company. You have to understand the CACs, LTVs, and then time to recover, basically ROI, and also how much is the root margin you're making, right? So customer acquisition cost. So you can choose, sure, but the actual truth about CAC goes beyond just advertising, goes beyond your whatever. Because the salary that you have to pay that person also is actually a cost. So try to break it down to a granular level. What is drawn through CAC? Sometimes, if you let's say, oh, I want to use the AI into some of the processes, you can say that, but the subscription to your AI, unless you have 70 free accounts that you keep switching to use it for free, right? Like many of us probably are doing. But there's a cost to it. Try to break it down as much as possible. If lazy to do it, ask you to do it. And honestly, I have to argue on the actual cost beyond what I thought. Okay, all right. Example that. Okay, so this one is again the cost to acquire the customer. If let's say it's 20,000, and then the earnings is 5K per month, and how long can it take for them to ROI the whole day? Remember the for example I gave you now? If they have to pay 800K a month, that's how long a year any many people will seven, when we can felt that need, right? And then 9.6. So they have to pay 9.6 billion every year. and then you choose your this crazy generator that says electricity at what 3 million, 5 million. It needs to make sense for sure, but then the collapse that how long am I going to get back the investor after I have done this? Because you sold the dream to it, and then it's only 1 million. So that extra 1K you can plug it into the expenses of you using the generator. And after X amount of years, you can it's just building and you save 400K every month, right? So okay, what else? Revenue minus direct cost. This might get around 50 to 80% in terms of market. Because actually it's going to be lesser than that. Because right now, if your margin is low, you're just another expense. Like going for volume. You want to go for value, not volume, right? So one buying tackle may can top out like 10 cents, 20 cents. Okay, lifetime value. Can understand from what's written there. Okay, total revenue from one customer. So if the LTV is lesser than your CEC, something is wrong. Meaning to say you pay Ariana Grande to promote your product, right? You pay so high, that is you sold the product, of course, it's good, but now that it looks like at home, you shouldn't use Ariana Grande. Maybe you use one million next product, right? But that's the thing you need to understand about LTV is how long until your customers stop using the product. Can you guys think anything that you use for a while and then you stop after a while? After some time? That is the point. Why you stop? Like how can get into the top one? Sorry. Like you can get the big, right? And then you should get the office. That's it already. I can do it. Okay, so again, this loophole that making you to be selected again out of either for maybe you subscribe premium for a while, then you found your soulmate really, of course, with the travel. So from the lens of Peter, they have their set base already built into their business model. That makes so. So how do they get to the LTV number is through data of the collective, like they have 4 million users, and then suddenly there's a drop off after 2 months. Why? Is it because they are so data is like, are we so good that we match people so hard that they stop being our customers free? I don't know. Netflix, of course, they have to strive for bigger, long-term abilities. So whatever they do, what they do next, like I explained yesterday, where you cannot just stop building what you thought can solve the world problem and stop there because you know it's working. Not all products are like that. You know, theories, right? Even theories that fail that we get from human or any pharmacies, what herb based, I say, right? Let's say it was very big, you know, like, it's so natural compared to paracetamol. And they never stop that first product they managed to scale. If you go to any Watson guide, you see a lot more. All those brand, sometimes they are so specific. This one is for your kidney. This one is for throat relief. Don't know whether it's true or not. But that's how they diversify the product offering. And this is the kind of leverage you have. And sure, you have to the roadmap, not immediately do so many details, guys. Don't do this because lack of focus is going to make your shit sink. So you put it in your milestones or roadmap slide page. Because judges can also ask this question, right? Okay, so I see that you have two product here, you have a target market, you have protection. What's next? The what's next has to be in your roadmap. What is in the plan or in the pipeline that you guys are advised or further develop in order for you to remain relevant in the market? Keep that in mind. Because I think pitching is also part of that. Okay. So now that, like I said, Ariana Grande, if you use Ariana Grande, if your company is lower than your CC, then you revenue is wrong revenue. Okay. Okay. Here are just examples. may not really related to what you do, but just give you an idea of how things are, like put things in perspective. Yesterday we were learning on this, right? The problem statement. And now today we are learning the others, what the math can really do. So whoever that didn't get him, hopefully you have your finance team members who can work with numbers, right? I wouldn't trust numbers with AI. They get drawn about, right? Okay, so starting from the problem statement from what we learned yesterday, the revenue model, you have to pick, I mean, there can be several this revenue model, like how you make money, but try not to do all, because it wouldn't sound very realistic anymore. So if it's a B2B, you have to stick to that, be your core revenue model, and then sometimes you can do servicing, not the sales support, and like that. Also, as a revenue stream, not the core. And then the right customer, based on what we learned yesterday, you have to be specific who you are targeting because that will determine whether or not the money is real. And the unit economics, what we learned just now, the buyer, the lifetime value, ROI for the client, not for you, ROI for the clients, and the margin, remember those four. And that's just the basics. You can put a lot more metrics to measure the performance of your business. And then we ask, okay, very simple. What do you want? What do you want from the audience? You but don't frame it. What do you want from the judge lounge? Because if you're asking the judge what you want, that will be you the ask is for when you want to sell this to somebody, what do you mean? And so because we are in tech right now, you're probably not pitching to directly to your customers. You're pitching for investment. Like we bootstrap with 30,000 we get our own market money. And then we can help us with another 100K. And this is where we get this is where we are before we fall. Right? But in order for us to move the needle, move the mountain within another 2 million, 4 million because of the work we've done in the past whatever X years is going to be to be putting us on a better trajectory. One very question a judge might ask, if you do not get money in the next 6 months, what will you plan? Are you going to kill off the project or are you going to bring it, right? Put it on me, and you know. So usual typical same answer would be you will still continue. It's just that with your investment, we are able to do this 5 times faster because we can still get some grants, some small change in terms of our investment from skills or from banks or from that, right? Don't say that you gotta do it. Do have a lot. Okay? Just think that you'll still go back and at least that way up. And free because of the things we know are mission critical, time critical. We want to ensure that we are quick. Those potential potential benefits for your audience. Okay, so this one is for the yesterday's nano filter. Next one. So another one, AI pathology leader. This is what also we shared actually in terms of problem statement, and this is just framing the function model for the people. So it's a strong SaaS model, and we have to convince this one. Like, why would this be? Why would your solution be strong? We can make believe some of the story, but it makes you my story then I will that's just will be happy to see that, right? You need to ensure that the target is really realistic and manageable and set the expectation right. Okay, so next this is call. Okay. So after that, let's look at okay, and this is maybe some of that today because I don't know what you guys actually finalized. I hear some very tech solution yesterday. Those who can, but yeah, So I'm not sure about the rest, but I expect I'm on the context of the hackathon, I expect similarities in the ideas. Because I don't think you guys can share out loud when you know, right? Everyone's very careful. You're going to keep everything to yourself and say, hey, so, yeah. And I think if the IP is sexy enough, there may be several features which is going to make the judges happier to see who is better championing that same IP. Okay? I don't know if you guys have been caught like, hey, can we make sure we don't compete against other? I don't know if you guys have this kind of opinion in the room right now, but if you want to keep everything live, go for it. But expect some competition in the same IP that you guys are doing. Because why not? I want to ask that the no institution that one IP can go through, right? If five teams will go and say IP also will get okay. Also, so this is the pitch. Now this is the tires of the picture is a tire. Long white is the tires. Okay, sometimes trucks can still move between wheels. I think so. Back and forth. Without one wheel at the back, I think that's the right. Like one wheel to the front, can cannot. Maybe cannot. Yes. Can right? Mechanically will keep me frame. So this common ground, right? I think. So imagine a picture consisting of four wheels minimum of a car or bicycle. So you have to ensure that everything is set in motion with traction of follow the same uh, the inertia of your wheel. Because just from the analogy of the tires, we put into the perspective of your dad. If you put 17-inch wheel here, 15 here, that will not balance your head. So what consists in putting that right? Okay, so this one is super important. That's why it's the biggest square because a lot of times we have discovered a lot of features of incentives. They try to educate the judges of what they are doing. Don't ever do that. They are not there to do. So a lot of times with the 5 minutes that you have, many people fell into the same trap. They will try to explain the how. Okay, wait. I'll give you different personas. One guy, one person, they focus so much on the problems, maybe take more than 1 minute, and then they couldn't finish the rest of the presentation because they are so upset about it. It's good to be obsessed with the problem, but if common folks can understand the problem and the underlying problem that caused it, you don't have to tell all the grandmothers or anything. These some problems are very direct. What they want to hear more is that, I mean, you can get some information, because if you're only teaching for judges like that, three or four of that, you get their not that understood was always carrying. That's why a lot of problem statement is led by the question. Have you guys ever get stuck in traffic jam? Want to be like now me? I have a solution for that. So the more people know, yeah, okay, being stuck. So then now you connect with the audience. So did that with that. Did questions, did problem statement through questions. Like everyone's a parent here. Okay, yes, I'm here. Yeah. Always think of that. And then you have to frame it in a way that every slide answers one question because it's suddenly asking. I've just hundreds in each that 20,000 trivia at this point. So sometimes the net can be so good until I have no questions back. So that's it's a double-edged sword. Because sometimes when you try to cover everything that that client has, it comes to a point where judges don't even know what's asking. You are over explaining, but in a good way. Don't get me wrong, in a good way. But you need to leave away those slider for you to answer your questions in a more expensive way, more elaborated way. So think details which is why I only have keywords here and one sentence here and there. Because I want people to ask questions. I put the entire analysis and thesis inside here, then there will not be interactions. So do not kill the patient with words. Trust me. Rule of thumb, Sitting here and I'm getting rule of thumb is if you are not going to say that in your feedback, they don't belong in the lab. If let's say you're coming to this paralysis to how much content do I put, how much should I? So it relates to how much you have in terms of time for you to present that one particular slide. If if you go beyond the time frame for the duration, it means you have too much content and you have it slide. And the same way to that is you don't need to slide. Let's say analysis. Every that I study, I think that is a statement. But what you're sharing shouldn't be what you are writing. Okay, so if you do not have time to explain something about your slide, don't put it there. And I will make it very much clearer. Okay, structure the page around the animation that you're going to but this one, I think it's very satisfying. How to explain it. I don't think that makes you are being so safe in the content that it doesn't even challenge yourself to try to fish. But you also have to be safer. Safe and comfort maybe a bit different in terms of experience. Comfortable meaning if I'm used to presenting like this to all my professors I will in the same language, that's not what that is comfort zone ratios. Maybe your professors are used to that kind of presentation. Like I mentioned yesterday, if you are a team of five, please do not get all five guys to your you all of you in the team splitting things like for different people to pitch. Don't do that. Okay, it's a real scenario. At most you will have two. One to explain or pitch about the business side, and the other one is for the technical side. That's the most you can do. But even then, I would still prefer a CEO to take all the damage. And then during Q&A, you can call up your parents for answering questions because you have different people with different expertise. Don't do the boy band media. No Western, no pressure voice. Okay, so I focus on two. I'm yeah, I'm one slide. The movie here, we have very low. So that's on the third. I want you guys to pick the best guy to graduate this thing. Okay? Best looking person to can have any other guy. And then this one, I don't know, I didn't see this one. But actually being our being on this brilliant time for time to digest whatever they are trying to say. So I remind you, start here, and I saw you here, because my attention is over there. So why is slide three, right? So according to the student standard, if you are to see that your cover slide as slide zero, or slide one, okay, slide one. Your slide two has always been the thing that anchor the attention the most. Learning questions or FUD. Thought of FUD before. M stands for fear. U stands for answer the D. And D stands for anyone can make a guess. I give 5 marks. You don't really try this. If M stands for fear, U stands for uncertainty, E stands for what? What can be a difference? Discomfort, disinterest, everyone is going to be at so, yeah. No. Oh, yeah, no, so that's so different. Nothing. Here. Okay. So the thing is not sure. G stands for the. Okay, so these three things is what I use and for which I'm using to start with a pitch. I give you an example. Did you guys know the big here suffer from yeah, kids every year. And 90% of them die in 3 years. So you're selling fear. You're selling uncertainty is like can you imagine what happened to our kids when all they do is look at the iPad all day? That is uncertainty. Doubt is something that you never knew is going to happen. You let's sell it anyway. Start off with that. And then that's just one. The one you set problems right. Step number three is a solution. That's the easiest way to put it. So yes, the way to these contexts, we find energy as still components that support our being disinterested. So it's something that really right now. Don't worry the data is true. You have sometimes in your deck you put that let's say like you know love is so beautiful, you put the soft out there. So we know that you're not pushing it out. Right? Um so actually because the beginning of the slide is really important. I'm not sure how you see the behind this place. I have all been from a few. So boring as hell. And I thought, when you even sent and by your lectures or professors, and you before it, no, no, you can make that one. Okay, what about the rest? And even for hours themselves, when I can see progress, it's so boring. Very and it's very something again. Is it more words? Wow, visually downloaded divided from one and then given bonds is terrible. But in instinct, these are the advocacy. That's the advocacy. Or in the business world, we call this as IM. What is an SPI? Investment demo. Investment memo are the 100-page slides that says everything about what you do. Because this is something that the analyst will use to learn intelligence for your brain. When they're talking about index investment. But for 5 minute page, you not know that to them. I know. Yes, chief is the six line. If the skip for 5 minutes, particularly in my facing, I will take around, I will use around 12 seconds, like, quick, like, thank you, and, I'll say, like, to be as optimal for you. But try not to speed read the page, because if you think that, oh, it's harder and you, it's like 5 minutes, I can do the okay? So don't find those find the sweet spot, but you have to discuss with the that person. You really, really have to pitch within the country because this one is really going to kill your marks. If I say, we're talking about hackathon here, if I say you have 26 slides to present and you are able to do it in 5 minutes, sure, why not? But if you cannot, right, your marks will be deducted a lot because you will either use the Q&A session, I mean, to finish your deck, or do the Hackathon. And then judges will ask questions that you never get the time to present. That one is super sad. And after the comment on, we also emphasize that Q&A should be how to get more marks. A lot of people try to escape Q&A because they're scared. Right? But trust me, the moment you're being asked questions and you answer it perfectly, you get better marks at it. But do not spend so much time answering questions. This one is also another common trap. If you only have 5 minutes, I think, for Q&A, which means it includes the time taken for the judge to ask questions together with the answers. So the sweet spot will be 3 questions in 5 minutes. So the way you answer the mechanic part assume is just answer that question, that particular question. Because sometimes you guys get wrong with it without even knowing it. Unconsciously, you will say something to answer the question, and then you cheat it, and this one look at this and that. You don't cheat it from there. Because they will structure their questions before you can finish your page. So try to be concise in your answering. Okay, this is skip trivia. If it is within the sixth slide, you have to have this. Even if you have 12, make sure you have this in your six. Okay. The problem, the ID, you can explain, like, in this example, why it's got to many years before they get invested or they get acquired because of the fund will not that different very long. So that goes the same to you. That's why I not the issue of why not doing my uncle back like that. But if you prevent the upgrade like that, eat the debt without paying much. Then the market, price, you know what's kind of although everyone wanted everyone want to say liars. Although the addressable market, yeah, right? Meaning the entire world. Don't do that. Okay, because the name first customer is always better than the entire world. You do not want to be vague because finally everybody from the world needs it. That one is quite vague. You target the right audience and become your first five customers, 10 customers, that will be much more better. And then how to go, pricing, what sort of average problem you need to check earlier. So this is different things. I'm just putting in here because it's really important to have in your fixed line. And then the cheap. Okay, so this one, you guys are all operations and revenue, operation-wise business. How I want to bring this environment, you pay total years of experience, even though it's one. So instead of having your photos and everyone's credential experience, you really need the of experience. Whereas people see that as one year that's 25 years old enough. Because this cumulative experience by the so everything you are achieving what your first year changes for number, shut it up. And then people will like accept for it, which because then because in the furniture, people have experience, they will show the logos of where they work for. These the logos are definitely enough for folks. Like if I'm ex Google, I'm going to go there, later and go there. But for you guys, I think you can be hackathon. So everyone expected you to be a student at some point. At this point, where you share your problem. Because I think in the judgment is, I will not judge based on it's like your domain of expertise. Right? So it's kind of perfect if you to have someone from the finance, someone from the marketing maybe, and something have a sales part, and then someone from the lead itself, and this agriculture, so someone from agriculture, and then another one, I'll say lawyer, someone from legal, because IP involves a lot on policies and regulation. There's someone, okay, let me have something legal. I usually actually today, we're putting around the place, who's something like this. Then they ask, this up, like I said, just what you have to understand, in order for you to go to the next level, how much do you need? But then people does this and challenge your utilization. So the ask is not the same, okay, we need 150K. To most people is sure, that's the leader. But how we should run it 50,000 brigades? Anyone want to say how they're gonna not gonna use? What sort of mechanics is they could use on the side? One variation. Five times. Five times is great. You just draw one large pie chart that constitutes all the different components that adds up to 100,000% of the television of part. Okay. So since we are in big tech, usually the last time will go to the oil. Will go to oil. The last time of the examination of the part that you are asking for is 150K, paying 40%, 50% also well. The higher is going to be developers for that. Okay, development. Okay. Which one is better actually? Super. Nobody wants to jump. Marketing versus development. Depends on the depends on the piano and also. Marketing is good if you are only something that's Piano 7 plus. Development is good if it's Piano 4 and before that. Okay. It needs to make sense. Because it's already it's quite big and it's together. Piano 3 and then suddenly spend 50% for Ariana Grande. Why, right? So you right so many questions and hoping your answers don't be who will do that. So you have to make sense of how you interact the many. Usually people use my chance, some use a graph like this, what this is what we're paying now. And then the problem is ready we get it for 100%. But that's one thing actually. Because you are showing them how you operate right now versus how you operate with capital. Right? But this is route to be items. Because people can carry them. People are okay. But this one mentally is something. You really need to believe where it is. Because every competition, right? We talk about hackathons or any kind of program or initiative, they have their own set of rules. So this one is for the examples. We actually cheat sheet you guys already. What are we looking for as a judge? Okay. Number one is the clarity of the problem. Number two is whether or not the IP belongs to this one. Number two is the IP the solution of declaration. Because sometimes you are so down rabbit hole looking for the core IP that it's doing. And then suddenly you expend so much on it, the IP of loss information. Right. Don't fall into the trap. For the context of this technology, that on that particular IP can be chosen. So it cannot be just a declaration, right? It's like an execution here. And then we will score you guys based on actual libraries. Okay, the market. And then the social feasibility. This one is also even the IPs of sorry, sometimes you guys categorize IPs. I mean, how can I say? And which is why due diligence is really important here. Because something can be seen as here a core part, but in actuality, speaking is actually free. Like all manner of go making application. Okay, be careful. So seven may not be as sexy as seven. Here, sorry. You know, be honest with what you're reaching, but you have to also ensure that your IP is solid seven or solid four or solid five. Okay. And I'm speaking from this based on like experience. So a lot of times we only discover the kernel and MRL after we do this. Otherwise, this kernel is just placeholder. You guys know who created KRLs? Who actually came up with this KRL thing? It's NASA. NASA, the space guys. So that's why it's quite like the same is like space. Alright, but that's the industry of full standards for measuring the capabilities of technology readiness. That's how it required you don't use it. So into really great projects that different ways why we still basing on material like this as a can be have but then that's why there's the conception of VRL and MRL something. Okay, MRL, you know, right? Market is already really good. What's VRL? Right. Business readiness as another one. So you can study this today or us to be to summarize everything so that you can so your CRL, yes. If you want to do that, so I would recommend it. But if you can prove it, that'll be great. Because if we want to actually having to the business unit history. Uh, Business readiness level is not the same as market ready. Some people still are market already. Sometimes market ready is not to be high. But better is the foundation to be popping off. Uh, the commercial potential. Okay, remember the PDC, CDC, ROI, and margin. That's why you're putting on that. At least this fall. The more you can put the putting more numbers will invite more questions. Be ready for that. Okay, okay, I can collect the die. 20, 11, okay, so this is where the team comes to play. If you have the bad guy over here, so he can solve all the. That's why I asked them, but if nobody answers one, are you sure you're bad? They didn't answer. Okay, so prepare the team to be able to answer questions. But when presenting and preaching, hopefully it's just 1%. The most confident one, I would say. But then the confidence level up, not from the person speaking up, the team members have to verify. Sometimes it shows in anything you're verified. But not even the person POV, you actually know the but you are bring that to the friends. That's why I have. Okay, convince your friends for your team member to give debate the best person to deliver the pitch. Because this 5 minutes is the only time you have to improve what you plan and fast week on, right? And maybe your leaders of 70 years old. Down here, if you guys cannot read teams that real problem plus IP plus commercial model in the first system almost always. Alright, so that one is related by Rooney. Thank you. Awesome. Alright, I think we can finish on this. You back one more. Okay, the storytelling. Remember this from yesterday, right? The problem statement. These are the examples used for yesterday's case and the data. Try to have this big in your head for this competition, but also carry this forward throughout your entire life, I would say. If you want to learn or picture, this, right? Like why you are the best person for our son, daughter of the son. Okay? Okay. Actually, you must have a wrong the fashion methods. But nobody is scared enough to share. Huh? Yeah. Because of the fear, some guys are some people are doing the same projects, so nobody wants to share. Okay? Right, so hopefully I don't get back to do this because this one doesn't equal to your pitch deck. I think that we ask this type of question. Next slide. Okay, common pitch mistakes. Mistake number one. So the I shared yesterday as well. Do not lead with the silence. Educate your judges how things work or how things didn't work. And you talk about the problem. That's okay. I believe in IP speaking yesterday also when I teach you guys, right? For those who came to me, you guys explain a lot of jargons. I'm just an uncle, bro. When you talk all this ABC, EM, right? I'm like, oh, you guys understand that well. You can't RMS. So try to do with less to no jargons at all. That one you can put small details here and there, like CMC covered with non-home particles. I don't know. Yeah, there's some very weird also. So if you don't want to mistakenly pronounce something, then just chill about it as how you think any 5-year-old will understand. Right? Now let me think number two. Like I said, all customers. So this is what I mentioned earlier about total accessible market. And what can be anyone or you pass so depends on the demand. But you have to identify which customers who they are. Even if you can call them who they are, or you look at them. Okay. Revenue without pricing, we will license at one price. So go. So you will show the numbers. Or don't be doing on numbers. Then no hope or defensibility comes through the IP. Because sometimes although IP is being granted, right? Taken granted and whatnot. Okay, I think taken granted is okay. Just see that. But sometimes people actually do something similar, but with a slight change in the technology or processes, and then it became your competitors already making it. Only something that a lot of times, if somebody, I don't want to do something that you have already filed as an IP, I will try to see how I can differentiate myself from the IP and then I will log this. And remember, you guys just keep your IP inside the library, whereas I will just do it and from the side library. And this one, the ask is not tied to a milestone. We need 500,000 for what? The utilization I mentioned earlier. And then 250K goes to pilots by August. Okay, so that one is less big because you have to target how you want this, uh, whether in the form of revenue or in the form of investment that you would be asking for to receive. Okay, yes. Okay. Third block. So this one is, I think, we try to understand back for you guys to be here and bring your interest. Because then, I don't know, the moment you're already, everyone will go on their life and nobody remembers to do this. There's, I think, if you are first time hackathon joiners, it's genetic whisper section up. There's a lot of times that you'll be right just videos, some even do video production. Because the campus is so easy to do a lot of video recording. Sometimes you want to pitch a little bit into analytics about how you perform certain activities in your solution. So it's up to your creativity. And I think that's what is happen. We haven't like the time lot for this right. So hopefully in the next half an hour, I think that's pretty essential. How it's for time to the to the right. That's right. So this is the time needed for you guys to have a sit down with your team. Sure, maybe this is the best time for you to talk to your members the time going on over WhatsApp or Telegram. We hope you guys have built a foundational or skeleton level of the deck already. Already, you see how behind is much of that. So everyone just gave up. It's fine. I don't know if it's around me. We can look at 30 minutes for them to shoot the site and skills tested. So do we do that? You can not put the random for the whole payment. Yeah, this is more of you guys go and discuss with your team because if you want to be made, each time. Okay, I need something before of the minute to do this and then the final hour for us. During pull up the first thing. It's then come back to the limits and 71 was the next few. Cool. So you guys are me. Thank you. and you can have on track that it's not like what should we do? We don't have to discuss you know, basically because you match the pricing. And revenue for the month, so if let's say you are not at the consolidation stage or you are at 7 and below, it doesn't make sense for you to be able to generate revenue from it. Okay? So try to be realistic when you are managing the IPs that are below that threshold. Model mismatch the IP because something like this, right? Subscription model for physical device, licensing model for interactive. So it doesn't match the actual realistic business model. So this is where you have to really build through the necessary mechanism for specific types of business mining. Okay? And then ultimately, that basically is mentioned the mission cost is never that could of players we never hire on the ultimate acceptance. Okay, so the fourth block, the end review. Remember yesterday when we were supposed to share our statement about each other, and you guys are practicing and planning the my success, just writing about who they are. So this one is basically designing with that professional the people think like what they are going to execute solution. However, in some cases, this is what I started to answer. Exactly. Because right now, right? It's you guys trying to pitch in front of everyone. We have myself and we have Nick and also Ruben on the left. We are so used to doing this stuff development part. We have published over 400 companies training. So I think it's best for us to just reach out to us privately right now over here. And just to streamline your each flow. Some of you see this now you have that. Some of you don't know that you have because you haven't decided yet. Well, and some of you felt like, okay, I can do this in 3 minutes. So I don't need to really so much. But as a judge myself, I would actually prefer the deck be designed by you. You can use AI, but not the same like how you achieve your second. You sit and you hold yourself. That's actually everything is what you do. And you know, there's a lot of GPT websites out there. I just because down your one and then it's like, and you say, this is not by humans or AI. And I just go ahead. As for me, there are some few guys respond. The idea that it's not um, yes, trying try to find your way out before you think about writing. In some formatting style generated by AI that can stop it right easily. So I'm sure that I think you want to do a good job at it. So if you but still use Canva just to show my original I figured out and there are no means. So I think try to read yourself like that is the use of design and all perfect. You can remove see that in the clearly and it gives you ability that is so we have been good so we can ask some other questions so I think we need to point because I can tell you right now, I can find at least 3 or 4 areas to start. Right? Okay. Right. Hey guys. Then after this morning, it's like push up. And now we're looking for praying for the big enough to so although I will go first in there and ask questions or you can ask today or back would be background. Because Saturday is not all day thing, because by afternoon I have the same things I want to say. Okay, cool, thanks guys. different style again. What has the very style? There's no hardly any space. No, I don't know.